Hello, hello. Could everyone please be seated? Could everyone please be seated to start the meeting? Yeah, I don't. Good morning. I'd like to call the room to order, please. And I think we can start live streaming. Let me know when you're ready. Looks like we're ready. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to note at the outset that there will be no executive session during this meeting today. Secretary Buffkin, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chair Marty Guay.
Present.
Regent Richard Balducci.
Here.
Regent Ira Bloom.
Present.
Regent Dell Cummings. Regent Juanita James. Regent Sophia Japanen. Online, thank you. Regent Richard Porth. Regent Ari Santiago.
Present.
Regent Aaron Stewart. Regent Elise Wright. Regent Ted Yang. Regent Don Williams. Student Regent Dakota Lawson. Student Regent Tyler Yee.
Here.
FAC Regent Brendan Cunningham. FAC Regent Colina Sasenker.
I'm here.
Commissioner Bartolomeo. Commissioner Giutani. Commissioner O'Keefe. Commissioner Russell Tucker.
Present.
Thank you. Chief Workforce Officer Kelly Marie Valieres. And Undersecretary Charlene Casamento. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Secretary Buffkin. Our first order of business this morning is the adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is adopted. I'd like to now, at this time, recognize Chancellor John Maduco for his remarks.
Hey, good morning, Chair Guay, Vice Chair James, Regents, colleagues, and guests. John Maduco. First and foremost, I want to speak to the recent tragedies at Brown University. We are extremely heartbroken by the tragedy to that institution. Our thoughts, our prayers, our condolences go out to the victims and their families. And to the entire Rhode Island community, right? This is, as a parent, this is something that it's a call you don't want to get. And as educators and administrators, especially in this sector, it's our biggest fear. And on behalf of CSU, we stand in solidarity with Brown University and what they will be going through in the days and weeks and months ahead. I know the safety and well-being of every student, every employee, every visitor to our campuses is a priority for our institutions, our campuses, our presidents. We want to express that we take public safety seriously. We have phenomenal police chiefs and police departments across our institutions, and they work diligently, not only with their level of training, but in collaboration with federal, state, and municipal law enforcement agencies. And Chair Gouet, I think there's an opportunity perhaps in the spring to invite our police chiefs just to kind of share with the board what they do day in and day out to maintain our safety. I also recognize that when we have tragedies like this, it can trigger fear, it can trigger anxiety. So to our students, and I know our students are off or about to be off for break, to our students, understand that our campuses across the state have resources to address any mental health needs that you have. And to our employees, through our HR department, we have employee assistance programs that provide similar services. Next, I wanted to kind of speak to our transition, our collective transition, what lies ahead. It's definitely been a year of transition, not just only as a system with new leaders and new expectations for us collectively, but also at the federal and state level, right? Let me be clear, it has been disruptive in terms of what we're seeing at the federal level, in terms of the U.S. Department of Education and the new changes that will come into effect in the new year. And I really appreciate the leadership across our system for working together to help prepare all of us for what lies ahead. But we remain focused and steady across our campuses, ensuring that teaching and learning and student development and support of our employees is paramount. Extremely appreciative to the President's Council. This academic year, we renewed the President's Council, where our 6 institutional presidents come together and work with me to strengthen not only collaboration between the institutions, but at the institutions. And their experience and their perspectives have been really invaluable during my transition into this interim role. And they have not minced words in terms of what they expect of our system and what they expect of me. So I really want to extend my thank yous to our presidents. Thank you for what you mean to me, to our institution, to our employees. Their leadership has resulted in stabilization as a system, more collaboration, more innovation, and meaningful work across our campuses. In the new year, I will be publishing an end-of-semester report that outlines the progress we've made, the work we've done, the analysis, and really what lies ahead towards the progress momentum for a shared direction. In this work, I want to announce that in the new year, I will be tapping President Karim Ismaili of Eastern Connecticut State University to engage and lead system-wide efforts as it relates to the liberal arts. So often we hear from liberal arts faculty that there's a threat to the liberal arts, and I agree, and then often they are disregarded and set aside. And it's really important as a system, we prioritize the importance of the liberal arts. President Ismaili, as you know, is the leader of the only public liberal arts institution in our state, and we're proud to have Eastern, but we have phenomenal liberal arts programming and faculty and experience across CSCU. And I want to ensure that through President Ismaili's advocacy, we can really begin the discussion and work towards the integration of the liberal arts with career preparation, and that being essential to a strong workforce development ecosystem, civic readiness, and long-term economic vitality. So President Ismaili, thank you for saying yes, first and foremost, and looking forward to your leadership. At this time, I also want to thank Regent Erin Stewart for her service on our Board of Regents. I want to share a little story. I began my tenure at CSCU at CT State on Friday, June 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. I remember that day. I'll never forget that day. And shortly after, on July 6, 2022, I had a meeting in New Britain City Hall with Mayor Stewart. And Mayor Stewart, I've never shared this with you. So you were explaining New Britain, the community, the efforts, opportunities for collaboration. And I have to admit, I wasn't really listening at first when you were talking, and I want to explain why. Because I was getting these vibes from you when you were speaking. And I think in that initial conversation, I asked you point blank, I said, "Are you Italian?" And you said, "Yes." And my response was, "Well, I'm married to a Paisan. I have Italian relatives. And it was just, it was clear that you were the epitome of the passion that Italian Americans have, and that you make everything about your work about community, right? And from there, we collect. New Britain for 3 years was my second home, and for 3 years, you were my mayor, right? So I really appreciate your friendship and your advocacy and what you've done to the community, and we wish you nothing but the best. So thank you. Thank you for your service. As we prepare for the upcoming legislative session, we are committed to engaging closely with our institutional Senate leaders. That's something they have asked of us. We want to work with our bargaining units in terms of what is the proposed or draft CSCU legislative session for the upcoming short legislative session. A lot is going on at the federal level that we know our state elected officials are going to have to weigh in, and we want a unified approach in terms of addressing our institutional needs while also being sensitive to the needs of Connecticut. As we close this semester, I want to sincerely and deeply thank our students and our faculty and our staff and our administrators and our presidents and our regents and our community partners for entrusting this system to do right by our students and our communities. It has been an eventful year. A lot has gone on, but I have not wavered in terms of the hope that we have in terms of the impact of public higher education and what our 6 institutions continue to do to our students and provide to the people of Connecticut and our statewide communities. I remain deeply confident that with strength, with resilience, and promise, CSCU, Connecticut's public colleges and universities, will continue to be the force that the state needs to, embark on what lies ahead for our communities. So I wish everyone kind of, rest well, happy holidays, recharge, and together I look forward to what we accomplish in 2026. Chair Guay.
Thank you. As I look back on this semester, I'm optimistic in the system's progress, in the institutional growth. We have a lot of new people in their chairs since we ended the spring semester, namely Dr. Jesse Bernal leading WestCon, Dr. Christine Royale leading CT State, Dr. Sandy Balmer leading Southern, and Interim Chancellor Meduco leading since July 1st. Concurrently, Charter Oak President Ed Klonowski tendered his resignation after a very long and successful tenure, and that'll be effective in June. And we're in discussions on how we manage that, and I think our next meeting is on Tuesday. So thank you, Ed. We'll formally thank you in a better way than that, so this is just... President Toro and President Ismaili continue to push the bounds of academic excellence and innovation. I appreciate their leadership too, and I look forward to their substantial impacts in 2026 and beyond. It is exciting to watch. As it relates to the Interim Chancellor, the Board of Regents unanimously voted in November to extend the term of Dr. John Meduco for 1 more year. The highest priority of this board is stability and student success, and we are maintaining and protecting these values with that decision. The board has been engaged in significant internal development to strengthen its governance practices and to ensure that it's operating as a unified strategic body. During this period, both the Board of Regents and the System Office have been focused on system stability, including responding to findings from the fiscal year 25 audits, updating key policies such as P-card, executive residency, and preparing for the 2026 legislative session, empowering our institutions, and assessing implications of federal changes related to higher education. At the Board of Regents meeting scheduled in January, I will be announcing the National Chancellor Search process and overview, so that'll be announced then. On behalf of the Board of Regents, I want to thank our institutional leadership, faculty, administrators, and system office staff for making this past semester so good for our students. There is a lot of momentum in our institutions and their mission, and I am grateful for everyone because it takes everyone in the room and outside this room to make it a reality. I also want to thank the Board of Regents. We have a very strong group here who puts in a lot of time to enable this mission. For all of you, thank you for what you do and what you have done. With that, I'd like to move to public comment. We have 5 speakers who have signed up this morning. I would like to say that a number of individuals who have signed up have indicated they are speaking about collective bargaining issues. I want to note that the union and the system and institutions are represented by negotiators at the bargaining tables. This board will be prepared to take action when the parties have reached an agreement. At this time, I'd like to recognize Sam Norton, who is working with our speakers. Sam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Gway. All of our public speakers are here with us in person today. Our first speaker is Kat Soto, a student at CT State Capitol. Hi, Kat. Do you have your 3 minutes ready?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may begin.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Katerina Soto, and I'm a proud student at CT State Capitol, and I'm the president of the Social Change Association at my college. I am born and raised in Hartford, and I'm a double major in political science and a business administration. I chose to attend community college first to save money for my future and to save money for my education to transfer to a 4-year university. I am here asking to please consider funding Capitol and all other community colleges in your budget. Capitol is currently struggling with keeping staff full-time instead of part-time, classes being cut from other campuses and only offered at other campuses, and what little money there is, it is hard to support the student clubs as well with how hard it is for us to access. Many classes have been taken off campus, forcing my peers in Hartford to transfer to other campuses like Manchester, Tungus, and even Gateway, or to take mostly online classes, which don't always provide the same educational value or sense of place and belonging. There is also the aspect of accessibility when traveling to classes out of town, as students will have to rely on bus routes which are not always reliable, or driving, which gas could add up over time. Not to mention the valuable time lost for other things students may need to do as well. When students have classes in person like painting or drawing, we find there isn't enough diversity in our course selection, and we often lack basic supplies because there's simply not enough funding to invest in many or new supplies in the classroom. With the clubs, we have a set number of $250 we use on planning our first event. But if you plan events, you know that they cannot go very far, and we have to carefully consider what can be feasible to bring to life. The rest of the year is usually spent trying to fundraise to gain club funds back, and with the short term and low resources, much of which is not possible. If we were giving more funding to the clubs, we could focus on providing better events for students that would benefit them and help them. Instead, we are looking for funding and people even to keep the clubs going, even with a little participation from student body and faculty, which leads me to my next point. The staff who bring so much value to my education are being overworked and underpaid. Many staff I interact with are only part-time and do not receive benefits or paid time off. And they are only allowed to work 20 to 25 hours a week. If you have ever experienced any kind of public education system, you know that much of our staff and faculty workload cannot fit into just 20 hours when you have to attend campus meetings, meeting with students, developing and refreshing course curricula, and grading. It's just not feasible for anyone to provide for myself and other students the educational experience we deserve in our time. Our staff and faculty are getting compensated for. When students try to make time to visit their professors and guidance counselors, they have to adhere to strict office hours, and even then, they may be busy with other students, grading assignments, or meetings. For how many students they have on their rosters, I find it hard to believe they can adequately care and manage for the need of all students with the resources and time available, which makes it hard on everyone. Thank you for your time.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you all will consider the CT State Community Colleges in your decision for funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.
Our second speaker is Ruth McDonald with Charter Oak State College. Ruth, do you have your 3 minutes ready?
Yes.
All right, you may begin.
I am Dr. Ruth McDonald from Charter Oak State College, and I've been teaching at Charter Oak in the English department for 25 years. I'm here to read into the record a letter from the General Assembly addressed to President Klinoski, Chancellor Maduko, and Chairman Gui. We write to express our support for fair and equitable compensation for the teaching faculty at Charter Oak State College. Despite the commitment shown by the Charter Oak teaching faculty to the working adults that they serve, Charter Oak teaching faculty have not received the compensation commensurate with their talent, expertise, and service. Key points: Charter Oak teaching faculty are held to the same high standards for student success as their faculty peers across the CSCU, yet their compensation trails by more than 50%. Charter Oak faculty have received only one raise of 6% in the last 13 years. Charter Oak enrollment has grown by a remarkable 60% in the last 3 years. When instructors are compensated fairly, they can devote the time, energy, and continuity to support student learning, provide meaningful feedback, and strengthen retention and completion rates. Inequitable and uncompetitive wages hurt faculty retention, leading our students to losing talented and experienced faculty. Simply put, investing in our teaching faculty is investing in students. Now is the time to fix this long-standing inequity. We urge you to take immediate action in support of fair and equitable compensation for teaching faculty at Charter Oak State College. And what's remarkable about this letter is the signatories. Senator Martin Looney, President Pro Tem, Senator Bob Duff, Majority Leader, Senator Derek Slapp, and Representative Greg Haddad, co-chairs of the Higher Ed and Employment Advancement Committee, Senator Julie Kushner and Representative Emmanuel Sanchez, co-chairs of the Labor and Public Employees Committee, and Senator Saud Anwar, Jorge Cabrera, Christine Cohen, May Flexer, Sujata Wilcox, Heron, Gaston, Jan Hockadell, Paul Honig, Matt Lesser, Rick Lopes of the hometown team, Cece Maher, James Maroney, Martha Marks, Pat Billy Miller, Norm Needleman, Catherine Austin, M.D. Rahman, and Gary Winfield. That's 24.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald.
Our third speaker is Tiger Rhodes with Charter Oak State College. Tiger, do you have your 3 minutes ready?
Yes, I do. Thank
All
you.
right, you may begin.
Also, I'd like to add Representatives Kai Belton, Amy Berger-Gervalo, Kevin Brown, Brandon Chaffee, Eilish Collins-Main, David DeFronzo, Mike D'Amico, Josh Elliott, Kate Farrar, Mary Fortier, Nick Gautier, Jillian Gilchrist, Kenneth Gucker, Josh Hall, Ann Hughes, Roland Lamar, Jeff Luxembourg, Nick Menapace, Corey Paris, Kara Rochelle, Farley Santos, Caitlin Shake, Lori Sweet, Gary Turco, and Representative Darrell Wilson. We thank them for their support. I would also like to mention that I'm a professor at CT State Capitol and also Charter Oak State College. And this semester that has just concluded or is concluding, I am the same instructor teaching at both schools. I teach Principles of Management, a business course, and I am teaching the same course content and workload, the same number of students in both courses, 22, the same textbook, yet I earn nearly $1,000 less at Charter Oak State College. There's something very wrong with this, and we would like the Board of Regents to partner with us to address this issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanel.
Our fourth speaker is Professor Christina Barman with Central Connecticut State University. Professor Barman, do you have your 3 minutes ready?
I do, thank you. I'm
Great,
Christina Barman. I teach here at Central. Now, I know because I have logged in a few minutes to a couple contract negotiations that I am not allowed to talk about the specifics of the negotiations. But I can talk about previous contract negotiations. I was on the negotiating team in 2020. Those negotiations were very contentious. They were very transactional. There was no substance. There was nothing really that the board cared about. The clear goal was to try and get as much as possible while giving as little as possible. It was all a trade. Our lawyer said something to me that stuck with me, and I'd like to share with you. He mentioned that in years past, both sides didn't always agree, but they had a shared vision for the universities, and they were both there to solve problems and work towards that shared vision. It is clear since the formation of this board that there has been no shared vision. It's pretty clear that we can't tell if there's any vision coming from you all at all. The motivation seems to be efficiency and corporate doublespeak. We, the faculty, do have a vision, one in which our students have the same access to excellent education as they would any of the elite institutions in this state. One where our students have access to the resources they need to thrive, one in which they were able to stay and graduate within 4 years, where they don't drop out because of mental health problems or money problems. We have a vision that our universities promote equality and social mobility. And this is the vision that we are working for. And we have real problems that get in the way of this vision. Real problems that we feel you all are not taking seriously, that you're not addressing, and that you're ignoring. We've already told you about faculty that teach from hospital rooms, faculty that have come to work sick or in pain and going to the emergency room after class. We've told you about faculty without health insurance. We've told you about a workload that leaves less time for students, less time for research, less time for programming. We've also told you about students who are sleeping in their cars and who drop out because of a small amount of money. Unfortunately, when we come to tell you this over and over and over again, you ignore these problems. When we come up here to speak, sometimes you pull out your phones, you work towards ground rules that interfere with transparency. I'm not allowed to talk about the few minutes I've heard of contract negotiations. All of this because we feel that you prefer to leave your heads in the sand. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Barman. Our last speaker is Lisa Calabrese with CT State Naugatuck Valley. Lisa, do you have your 3 minutes ready?
Yes, I do.
You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, regents and guests. My name is Lisa Calabrese, and I'm the membership officer for the 4 Cs and the campus enrollment supervisor of the One Stop Center at CT State Naugatuck Valley. I am here today to speak on behalf of our faculty and staff, but most importantly, on behalf of our students, whose voices too often go unheard in decisions that directly impact their futures. Last month, we held a series of storytelling days at Naugatuck Valley campus. We gave students the opportunity to give brief video testimonies on their thoughts on various aspects of their educational experience. The results were not surprising, but it was heartbreaking to hear these students share the challenges put in front of them by a system that seems to consider them less than or not worthy. We heard the same message over and over. They do not lack the talent or the ambition. They lack bandwidth and resources. They are working either part-time or full-time, supporting families, commuting long distances, or are returning to school after many years away from a classroom. They are being held back in various ways by a system that no longer has the staffing or the resources to support their needs. One student shared she waited 3 weeks just to meet with an advisor because her campus had lost 7. Each remaining one at the campus now carries a caseload of 350 students from the previous 200. Another student said she cannot get the writing support or morning tutoring she needs and is being told to travel to another campus or just go online. A chemistry major explained that she can't take the required organic chemistry course as it is not offered at Naugatuck Valley, one of our largest campuses, by the way, and as a result, needs to find a way to travel to Middlesex. Many of the students spoke about how challenging it is to find in-person classes and how they are either forced to take classes in an online modality that does not align with their learning style or to find the means to travel to another campus. I personally have sat in many meetings where CT State leadership has touted the high percentage of students taking classes at multiple campuses, as if it were a positive outcome. What is not being recognized is how many of those students are doing so as a necessity and not as a choice. Students also talked about accessibility issues with consistent broken elevators, leaking roofs, and food pantries held together by philanthropy. They talked about coming to the campus to study in the evening after a long day of work and finding no food available on the campus. They talked about needing mental health counseling, art supplies they can't afford, laptop loans that run out every semester, and faculty who want to support them, but who simply do not have the time because they are stretched across multiple campuses to piece together the equivalent of a full-time employment as an adjunct. What students are describing is clear. They need a college that is staffed and resourced at the level their education requires. That means more full-time faculty so students have instructors who are able to be present, accessible, instead of driving 20 hours a week just to make ends meet. A restored advising system so students receive proactive, holistic support instead of crisis management. Adequate staffing in libraries, tutoring centers, and other student services so students can receive the support systems they need to make them successful.
Apologies, Lisa, if you could please wrap up as we're
Sure.
at the 3-minute mark. Thank you.
Sure. The coursework should be hard and challenging for our students, not navigating the barriers. Thank you for your time. I am hoping these stories move you to make change.
Thank you. We have 2 sets of minutes before us for the approval of this meeting. First, on the minutes from our regular meeting, October 23rd, are there any comments, questions, or corrections? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on October 23rd, 2025? May I have a second? All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next. On the minutes for our special meeting of November 14th, 2025, to approve the minutes, are there any comments, questions, or corrections? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of a regular meeting of November 14th? Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have 12 items on this morning's consent agenda.
I'd like to note that item M, you have a substitute document in front of you for the item M that's on the agenda, the board calendar.
May I have a motion to approve items A through M on our consent agenda? Second, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda is approved. I'd like to turn over now to Academic and Student Affairs Committee Chair Ira Bloom. Regent Bloom, I understand you have a report for the Academic and Student Affairs Committee. Great, and that your action items were adopted on consent, but the floor is yours and your microphone needs to be turned on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Academic and Student Affairs Committee met on November 7th, a special meeting, and again on December 5th. This report encompasses both meetings. Present on November 7th were Regents Del Cummings and Juanita James, as well as the committee chair. Also present was the ex officio member and Chief State Work Officer, Dr. Kelly Marie Valleres. Present at the December 5th meeting were Regents Del Cummings, Juanita James, Rick Porth, and the committee chair. Also present was ex officio member Professor Colina Sasanker. On behalf of the committee, I thank the board for its approval of the ASA items on the consent agenda. A particular note are the two centers put forward by Southern, our only R2 university, and several new programs described in the resolutions put forward by Charter Oak. I would like to spend a few minutes discussing the two Southern centers, both of which are involved in groundbreaking work in collaboration with other entities in Connecticut and are worthy of attention here. The first Southern Center, continued now and now renamed as the Center for Quantum and Nanotechnology, fosters collaborative interdisciplinary research and educational initiatives and programs in the emerging technologies at microscale, nanoscale, and quantum science, the very small things, which enhance Connecticut's competitiveness in nanotechnology, material science, and sustainability. This involves exciting cutting-edge work. The center, for example, is positioning itself in the emerging quantum AI economy. The center collaborates with other academic institutions, including other CSCU campuses, UConn, Fairfield University, and the University of New Haven, with industry groups and in-state businesses, as well as other government entities in the state. All of this provides many opportunities for Southern students for advanced study and challenging positions after they graduate. The center has been successful in achieving substantial public and private grants to support its work. This is really cutting-edge science, and we should be proud of what is happening there. The second Southern Center addresses a very different set of challenges. The establishment of the Social Work and Law Enforcement Center for Police Social Work at Southern advances the goal of integrating social work services into law enforcement settings, an initiative with nationwide implications, and in fact, one you may know figured in the recent campaign for mayor of New York City. It evolved from a joint project at Southern with the Willimantic Police Department. This effort has had bipartisan support from the Connecticut legislature and has received a $1.1 million two-year appropriation from the legislature. Two final comments, Mr. Chairman, if I may, emanating from today's agenda. We have superb faculty at our CSCU campuses undertaking very significant agendas, some of which have state and national import, and they should be recognized. Dr. Christine Broadbridge of the Physics Department at Southern is a prime mover in the and the executive director of the Nanotech Center. Dr. Isabel Logan of the Social Work Department is the designated executive director of the Social Work and Law Enforcement Center, which is about to start. Dr. Logan began at CSCU as a faculty member at Eastern. Initiatives such as these and similar initiatives happening at other campuses, including right here at Central, deserve greater recognition and visibility. They are doing important work of national scope, and this sometimes seems to get buried in all the other news about CSCU. Chair Gray, thank you. That concludes the ASA report, and I thank everybody for their patience.
Thank you, Regent Bloom, and I want to commend you for your hard work on the Academic and Student Affairs Committee. There is an incredible amount of progress that's being made throughout the system, and I appreciate you serving up those decisions to the board in a well-curated and professional manner. At this time, I'd like to turn over to our Audit Committee Chair, Elise Wright. Regent Wright, I understand you have a report this month?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a report this month?
Yes, I do.
The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Regents Audit Committee, which is comprised of Rick Porth and myself, met on Tuesday, December 16th. A comprehensive update on the audit activities and financial reporting for fiscal year 25 was summarized by CFO Lloyd Blanchard, System Controller Annette Pavone, Chief Compliance Officer Cameron Liston, and external auditors Grant Thornton and Whittlesey. Management's update emphasized ongoing challenges and new rules, as well as proposed solutions. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board, better known as GASB, 2 new standards affecting fiscal year 25 audits, GASB 101 and 102. GASB 101 focused on unified accounting procedures for compensated absences, while GASB 102 introduced new risk disclosure requirements. No additional liabilities or risk disclosures were found for this cycle related to these new rules. A significant development this year was a change in the accounting of pension and other post-employment benefits, also known as OPEB, liabilities, following recent changes in state law. In 2012, per GASB standards, public higher education institutions required inclusion of pension liabilities on their balance sheet, and in 2015 required the same for OPEB liabilities. This led to large negative net positions reported on our institutional balance sheets. A new state law shifted these liabilities to the state, removing approximately $3.7 billion from CSCU's financial statements and reflected a substantial improvement in institutional net positions. This effort was really a learning opportunity in collaboration and teamwork. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank our CFOs and controllers at CSCU and across our institutions. That included UConn accountants, GASB representatives, and our external audit partners who collaborated in this effort. And I have to emphasize that this issue about our CSCU needing to post the liabilities on our system has been a problem for over 10 years. And so the reason why this was resolved is that we had participation at the system office, at the local level, at UConn, which is the other state university outside of our system. We got a regulatory agency involved in the resolution. This is a huge deal. And from our perspective, this is model behavior. This is the kind of work that we need to do to resolve situations. There was no one person leading it. It was a group of people across institutions that got together to resolve this issue. And I, on behalf of Rick, myself, and on behalf of the board, I think that this was pretty remarkable work that they did. The management discussed the ongoing challenges, including financial reporting delays, manual processes, and fixed asset management, along with the plans to resolve these challenges impacting both accounting and procurement processes, including restoring lost customizations, implementing a reporting tool to automate manual processes, and conducting a workflow analysis to improve fixed asset inventory management. Staffing transitions are ongoing, with plans to balance responsibilities between the system office and Connecticut State, CT State, ensuring CT State develops its own capacity for day-to-day accounting and reporting. Chief Compliance Officer Cameron Liston provided updates on the APA audits, which covered fiscal year 2021 through 2024, and included repeat findings attributed to the timing of audits and resource constraints. In response to these findings, management has implemented a centralized tracking system, strengthened policies, including a new P-card policy, and is reestablishing the internal audit function to improve oversight and compliance. Southern Connecticut is one example of how they have strengthened the P-card policy, and it's driving change. Just as an example, the number of P-cards distributed through Southern has been reduced by almost half. They're continuing to audit 100% of P-card transactions. They implemented a 3-strike rule for policy violations. So 3 strikes of not doing things appropriately, you lose your P-card. And it's resulted in a decrease in card holders, as I mentioned before, by 50%. The committee emphasized the importance of regular updates on audit findings and corrective actions to maintain public trust and institutional reputation. Collaboration between institutions and the system office is seen as key to ongoing improvements. In closing, the financial audit results were positive. The CSCU 2020 construction audit resulted in a clean opinion, and financial statement audits for the universities, CT State, and Charter Oak are expected to receive clean opinions. The previously identified material weakness related to not having a controller has been remediated with Annette Pavone joining our team. So this concludes my report.
Interim Chancellor Maduco.
Yeah, Chair Gray, Regent Wright, thank you for that report. I just want to echo your sentiments. The level of work that took place across our system, across our institutions as it relates to not just the P-card policies, but other procedures and controls to ensure that we are rebuilding that credibility and trust in the eyes of the general public was nothing short of just outstanding. To implement change midstream in the middle of the academic year, it's difficult, right? Because we're teaching and learning and supporting our institutions. And per the leadership of our presidents, working with their respective administrations, but the partnership with the system office, general counsel, the compliance office, you name it, we took seriously the concerns that were expressed to us not only by this board, but by the general public. So really proud of the efforts across the board, and we will continue to ensure that we are responsible with the funds that are appropriated to our system across our campuses. So thank you.
Thank you, Regent Wright. It's not lost on me that a year ago tomorrow we had the report from the comptroller on the P cards, and the amount of work to clean that up is crucial. But more importantly, to Dr. Maduko's point, this is taxpayer money. This is students' tuition money, and we have to hold this to a standard well above any other standard we have in terms of transparency, integrity. So thanks for your efforts on this. Regent Porth?
Just very, very quickly, I want to thank Elise for her leadership in this and echo some of the comments, including yours. What I see over the past number of months is a real effort to address some of the big issues within the system, not only on the P cards, but on other findings in previous audits. And I'm really encouraged with the progress we are making on this, and that involves the work of a lot of people here in this room and throughout the system. So thank you.
Thank you, Regent Porth. Finance and Infrastructure Committee, Regent Balducci, I understand you have both a report and action items for us this morning. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on December 10th. We had two action items to discuss. One is to
Ted, can you move the microphone closer?
discuss the P card. Oh.
There we go.
One is to discuss the P card policy, and the other, the use of state vehicles. And actually, Cameron, the two simple, would you come up and go through these briefly? One of them, the Public Act 2571 takes effect January 1, and we are required to take action on these two items before us today, the P card policy and the vehicle policy. So with that, Cameron, would you briefly explain both of them?
Hear me? Is this microphone on? Okay, great. So there are two policies coming out of the Finance Committee for this board to consider today, the first of which is an amendment to the P-card policy. The P-card policy that was adopted in February by this board is consistent with Public Act 2571, but for one exception. So you'll note that there is an additional provision in this policy that now requires signed acknowledgement of training. That's the totality of the changes to the P-card policy. So it was really great that this board got it right in February and is now consistent with the expectations of the state. The second policy also...
Excuse me, can I just comment on that? You also, if we find indiscretion or a problem, there's going to be a 10 business days to report an issue or a problem under that policy. Is that correct, Cameron?
That was raised for consideration in the procedures. So our timelines, the way the policy works is we gave the institutions as much autonomy as they could in implementing the standards. So the timelines, that will be shared with the institutions to consider for their procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then the second policy before you today is a new policy. So you won't see tracked changes in that because that is an addition to our policy portfolio. This, as Regent Balducci noted, is a new obligation under Public Act 2571 It is adopting essentially the standards of DAS Letter 115 that governs the use of state vehicles. It is consistent with that. It goes beyond that in some limited circumstances, as has been our approach with all new policies. We are coming out with tight controls. If we identify operational issues, we have the opportunity to bring amendments before the board. But we do believe, as we are introducing new standards to our institutions, it is important to have strong controls over our use of state vehicles and state resources.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Chair Balducci. I'm grateful for all the work you've done in the Finance Committee this year, and I appreciate your hard work and perspectives. At this time, I apologize. I think I need a motion to approve these resolutions. I'm going to let you do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't make a motion to adopt a resolution. I would so make that motion now, Mr. Chairman.
There's two resolutions, and do we vote?
Individually, I would move on the
Individually
first
better,
one.
right?
Yes, we'll vote on them individually.
First resolution is adopting the CSCU state vehicle policy.
Motion to adopt made.
Second.
No further comment on it, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted for this revised CSCU state vehicle policy. The second resolution is amending the CSCU purchasing card policy. Is there any discussion?
I think it was perfectly clear. We also have some really good background already made by the previous speaker release. I would move that for adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of adopting the motion on the CSCU purchasing card policy amendment?
Aye.
Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Chair Balducci.
Thank you.
Governance and Nomination Committee, Juanita James. I understand, Regent James, that you both have a report and action items for us this morning.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. And unfortunately, I have a little bit of laryngitis. So the Governance and Nominations Committee met December 5th and was joined by Regent Don Williams, who has recently been appointed to the board. The committee's main agenda item was to review and recommend guidance on the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Regents. The guidance is designed to clarify the roles and responsibilities of us as regents and the board as a whole. This document aimed to consolidate 2 years of segmented discussions into a single comprehensive resource to support board training and onboarding of new regents. I want to thank Regent Don Williams and Rick Port for their efforts in compiling and revising the draft, as well as for input from other members. The document before you should be considered a living resource, subject to annual review and improvement, rather than a rigid set of rules. It is critically important to balance codified guidance with the flexibility necessary for relationship building and development among all of us as board members and with the Chancellor's office. I want to take the opportunity to highlight some portions of the guidelines before us today. 1, governing authority and purpose. This guidance reflects the shared view that the oversight of the board is exercised through the setting of goals, objectives, and performance metrics for the Chancellor, whose leadership and hiring decisions will be evaluated accordingly. Number 2, special meetings. These guidelines align with the existing bylaws and our discussions reflected an overall view that our planned review of bylaws is necessary and would include topics such as whether the current process for calling special meetings of the board should be updated, and which will be one of the topics we address when we begin that review. 4th, succession planning. The committee discussed the necessity for clear policies on succession planning and delegation of authority in the event of the chancellor's absence, whether planned or unplanned. The consensus was to prioritize development of a formal succession plan and to note this need in the minutes, but not to delay the adoption of the current document pending this work. I would ask for a motion to approve the recommendation of the Governance and Nominations Committee to approve the board's roles and responsibilities guidelines as presented, and would like to invite questions or comments from any of the other regents as well.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Regent James, and I'd also like to thank Regent Williams and Porth. This is a very important document for us, and I read it a couple times, and I was really taken with the work that was put into it, the thoughtfulness around accountability and transparency and leadership. So thank you for your hard work with Regent James. Human Resources and Administrative Committee, Chair Sophia Jappanen. I understand you have both a report and action items for us this morning.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair Guay. The Human Resources and Administration Committee held a special meeting on November 13th to review two policies related to the Public Act 25-71, an act concerning higher education management and fiscal accountability, which requires CSCU to adopt certain policies prior to the effective date of January 1st, 2026. The first is the Executive Residency Requirements Policy, which requires the CSCU Chancellor, Vice Chancellors, Presidents, Vice Presidents, and other equivalent executives to establish and/or maintain certain residency standards. The policy introduces two tiers of residency requirements. First, the CSCU Chancellor hired or rehired on or after July 1st, 2025, and the 6 institution presidents hired on or after January 1st, 2026, must establish Connecticut residency on the date of appointment or within 90 days after the appointment. The second tier applies to other executive positions defined in the policy. Individuals hired or rehired into these positions on or after January 1st, 2026 may satisfy the residency obligation by establishing residency in Connecticut or by residing within 75 miles of their primary campus or office location at appointment or within 90 days after the appointment. The Executive Residency Requirements Policy is endorsed by the Human Resources and Administration Committee. This policy complies with the requirements of the Public Act and does not negatively impact CSCU operations. I'd like to invite any questions or comments. And I'd also like to have Cameron Liston, our Chief Compliance Officer, answer those questions.
Regent Yang has a comment.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, so thank you for doing this. I think it's very important, obviously, that we be aligned with the legislature, but also I think with sensible policy. My question is regarding interim, because I noticed in here that we set, or your committee set I think it's a 1 year regarding interims. Could you expand more there? And also, I don't think that's in the legislation, so this is something we decided to do.
I'll leave it. Go ahead.
That is correct. So it is interim appointments of less than 1 year are not impacted by this, nor are interim appointments filled by consultants, which does occur rarely, but in some instances. In terms of the executive residency, non-chancellor executive residency, we did have flexibility in terms of who it applied to, how we were going to make those decisions, and what that range was going to be. So I think what was important here was that we recognized the intent of the General Assembly in the value that CSCU is, the impact it has on the state, and having people who have stakes in that, being residents of the state or being residents of the near region.
Okay, but the interim case is obviously distinct, right? Because we don't know where the people may be coming from into this, right? They may already be living somewhere, they may be within 90 days. I guess my point is it seems difficult for us to implement a policy on that, on this level where it's essentially going to be ironclad law, right? As opposed to having more discretion with regards to interim appointments, right? It's very different than saying this is your full-time thing, right? When you're saying someone is interim, obviously you're saying you need to also go back to your position. So, for example, if that requires someone to move and then move again, we're going to lose the ability to have that person be the interim, right? That to me seems like a negative outcome.
So this policy also does not apply to current employees. So when we're talking about hire date, it's not into XYZ position. It's hire date at the institution or within CSCU. So if there's interim appointments, from this institution to this one or from this one to the system office, this policy would not apply.
Okay. Right, that's my biggest concern. Okay.
Thank you for your question. Regent Yang? Chair Gui, I ask for a motion to approve and adopt the executive residency requirements policy.
Is there a motion?
Is there a
Regent
second?
Porth, second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Policy is approved. The second policy reviewed by the Human Resources and Administration Committee is the Uniform Training Policy. The policy is effective January 1st, 2026, and applies to all CSU employees at all CSU institutions. It lays out training requirements for new employees and recurring training for existing employees, including those mandated by the state. The policy also addresses specialized additional training, often specific to the needs of the work department or organization, to ensure employees have the necessary skills and knowledge to fulfill the duties of their positions. The HR and Administration Committee endorses the Uniform Training Policy. This policy strengthens our commitment to develop a well-trained workforce, reduce institutional risk, and is compliant with the Public Act. I ask for a motion to approve and adopt the Uniform Training Policy. Any questions or comments? First, motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Policy is approved. Thank you, Chair Gui. That is the end.
Thank you, Regent Chapman, and thank you for moving two important things to formality for us. We appreciate your hard work on the residence policy and the training policy and the committee. Technology Committee, Regent Ted Yang, I understand you have a report this month?
Sure, and I'll be very brief. I noticed that we are the only ones featuring a YouTube link, so I encourage you, if you are really bored and really want to spend a few minutes with us, please click that link. Other than that, the only thing I want to say is that we have a couple of major items. I think one of them showing up as an informational here regarding the Banner Aleutian migration, which is a huge initiative across the system. We'll have more to talk about that in January, so as not to extend this meeting any further. But just FYI, there is a report there. If you would like more context, please reach out to me or the members of the committee. We can provide more explanation rather than trying to explain it right now and reading it into the record, because I do expect this to change somewhat. More context to be provided in January. Beyond this, we have been focused significantly on cybersecurity issues. One item which I see did not make into agenda, but that's totally fine, is a revision of the info security policy as exists today, which pretty much, and CIO Mundrain, if you'd like to chime in, is really about, in my mind, a common sense rewriting of this in a way that is more approachable and accessible to every user. Really, there's nothing worse than a policy, specifically one about information security, that people cannot easily understand and follow. This is followed through our process with the governance committee. Has been through, my understanding, has been through the presidents and all the various campuses. Again, this is something we'll bring up in January for everyone's delight and excitement, I am sure. And the final point is regarding a further work by this committee of looking at the holistic technology environment. We are now working, and we'll have more to report in terms of controls and other items in January again. So I guess I'm just staking out my territory for January while saving everyone's time today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Regent Yang, and thanks for your hard work on the Technology Committee. I know you and Regent Santiago have been working hard on a lot of issues with the system office and the institutional leadership and their support systems. As a point of privilege, I would ask any of our institutional presidents, as we come to year end, the microphone is yours. You come to these meetings and typically support the cause and inform us of what we need to be informed of. But I want to give the floor to you to hear what's on your mind if you want.
Chair
President
Gouet,
Royale,
yep. Thank you, Chair Gouet, Commissioner, Board of Regents, community members. I would like to give an update about our NECHI meeting for CT State. The Chancellor had provided an update on our September meeting a few board meetings ago. What I wanted to share is that we received the official communication from NECHI, and they accepted our report and the report of the visiting team, which were both favorable. And the next visit that we will have with NECHI will be our fall 2027 comprehensive evaluation. In addition to accepting it, they emphasized and applauded us for continued success in a few areas. One is finalizing and implementing our multi-year strategic and financial plans. Second is continued work on building a culture of assessment focused on student success with an emphasis on developing institutional learning outcomes and addressing the college's goals for student retention, graduation, and transfer rates. The third area was fully implementing our alignment and completion of math and English policy across all of our campuses with attention to our co-requisite models and support practices. And then the last is in evaluating the effectiveness of our governance structure and ensuring transparency in communication. We also had a couple of areas that they wanted us to continue to focus on while commending our progress in this area. They wanted us to continue to focus on implementing our significant structural transition, and that's in regards to bringing the 12 campuses together under one college as CT State. We had marked improvement in student success rates, attributed in part to our Guided Pathways Advising Program, as well as our PACT Marianne Hanley Award, and our overall graduation plus transfer rates improving from 32% to 37%, as well as implementation of our deficit mitigation plan. In preparation for our fall 2027 self-study report, which we will submit in the spring of 2027. A few areas that they wanted us to emphasize in that report include finalizing and implementing our multi-year strategic plan and financial plans, and we are launching a strategic planning process in January college-wide. Continued work on building our culture of assessment, implementing our alignment of completion of math and English policies across our campuses, and then, of course, evaluating our effectiveness in our governance structure. So we will continue to work on these areas, but I wanted to really emphasize and congratulate the faculty and staff of CT State, because putting together a report like this and preparing for our focused evaluation visit is truly a college-wide effort. I think this acknowledges all the work we have done over the last couple of years to fully become CT State, and it also acknowledged some of the areas that we'll continue to work on in preparation for our next report. For transparency, the official letter is on our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Royale, and thank you for you and your team for getting through this NETCHI hurdle. It's important for us. Accreditation allows us the opportunity to teach our students, so we appreciate all the hard work from all the stakeholders in CT State. Any other institutional presidents want to venture into the microphone? Well, with that as a point of privilege, I come to the meeting where I want to recognize a fellow regent, Erin Stewart, who has been a colleague and a friend, and we've worked previously together before the Board of Regents in New Britain. And as Chancellor Maduco said, if you haven't been to the New Britain City Hall when Mayor Stewart was there, you saw Mayor in action. And what I really appreciate about Erin is really three things. One is her highest value is people make the difference, and she always looks to get everyone involved and really listens to those who are not always listened to, and really takes into account people. So people drive Erin in a fundamental way, and Erin was very helpful for me in that moment when I came in, and very helpful to set a good start. The second thing I would say is Erin has a bias for action, and I think the action is quite important, what she does and how she does it. So for me, people who have a bias for action, I've got time for, because we need to, if we want change, we got to change. And the third, Erin, you're authentic and genuine. You really are. You're kind of the real deal. There's no mask for this and mask for that. Erin Stewart is Erin Stewart. I know that comes with a lot of success, and sometimes people write an article on that and are not as impressed, but I am. So thanks for all you do, and I had to pick out a gift for you. And of course, the first thing I did was call our general counsel and say, what are the rules? And the rules are financially very constraining, but the sentiment is enormous. The sentiment is enormous, because I had to pick this, and I picked this one, and I'm going to read it. It says, "Leadership with deep appreciation, Erin Stewart, 2022 to 2025, Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education." But the motif, the reason I picked this, it is called Creating Waves. And I think no better regent than Erin Stewart for creating waves. So, Erin, I appreciate you. You're going to see this wave here. I'm sure Dominic's going to like it. And you put it at home somewhere. But thanks for all you do. You're a public leader. That's not easy. You're a graduate of Central, which is terrific. You've been a great partner for Dr. Toro. So I'm going to give you the floor, and at the risk of finishing off well, give you the last word.
Thank you so much, Marty. Let me get my wave here. Hold on.
There you go. There you go.
This is the wave. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. This is so nice. I will add it to my collection. I've had to bring everything home from the mayor's office, so there's no shortage of things in my office at home. My husband will love it. I just wanted to say, I just want to thank everyone, the staff, my fellow Board of Regents, the leadership here for the opportunity to serve and to be here and to do what we have able to do over the last few years. As a graduate of this system, especially the institution we're sitting on today, go Blue Devils. Yeah, baby. It's been an honor to serve in this capacity. And then to return as a board member after graduating from Central, after benefiting personally from this system, it's been both meaningful and humbling. So, I mean, obviously we all know I'm stepping away from this role with the hope of continuing to serve the people of our state in a different capacity. And so this decision, this moment is one of reflection for me. My experience on this board, to put it pretty plainly, has been an interesting one. I know I've often been a dissenting voice and sometimes the only one in the room, and I know that many of us weren't here for a lot of that in the beginning. But this board has experienced a significant amount of turnover, and frankly, for very, very good reason. Change is hard, and change is also necessary, especially when you are entrusted with the future of a complex statewide system that serves hundreds of thousands of students and families each day. But every question that I asked as a member of this board, every challenge that I raised, every difficult conversation that I initiated, it didn't come from a place of politics, it came from a place of genuine care. My intent was always to ensure that the system works as it should for the students that it exists to serve. I didn't come here, I didn't come to this board expecting comfort or consensus. I know that I was put here to ask hard questions, to demand accountability, to push for transparency, particularly in areas related to finance and infrastructure and governance. And while the work was not always easy, and I know that there's still a lot more to be done, I'm proud of the substantive reforms and the process improvements that have begun. As Juanita, we were talking about earlier, it's just the beginning for a lot of changes coming to this system and through the good work that this board is doing, because progress matters even when it's incremental. And I know that everyone wants to see change now and see things happen immediate, but incremental change is going to lead to the best success for this institution. I was the former mayor, so weird to say former, of a city that's home to 3 institutions within this system. I came to this board with a deep first-hand understanding of both the struggles and the successes experienced by students, faculty, and staff. And as a product, I believe strongly in the value of leading with lived experience, listening to communities, understanding their realities, and most importantly, acting upon what it is that we hear. And it's my hope of anyone who serves that when we leave a board or a role or an institution, that we leave it better than what we found it, in the condition that we found it in. And while the system is certainly not perfect, I do believe that it is in a much stronger position today than it was when I attended my first meeting in 2022. And that's something that I hope that this board takes a lot of pride in. Marty, I just want to personally thank you also for taking my phone calls, for listening even when we disagreed. I want to thank Rich for his phone always going off in the middle of every meeting that we've ever had. Even when we disagreed, you always understood my perspective and reached out for that. And for that, I'm very grateful. Your leadership mattered, and I appreciate your professionalism and your openness. I get it, Rich. I'm going to wrap it up.
I'm sorry, I enjoy listening to you very much, as you know, over the years. Somebody doesn't like me.
And just to wrap it up, to the students, the faculty, staff who work day in and day out to keep this system moving forward, I just want to say thank you. Their dedication, it doesn't go unnoticed. Your work is ultimately what defines the success of higher education in Connecticut. So to all my fellow regents, I genuinely wish this board continued courage. I wish you continued honesty and continued commitment for doing what is right for students, for families, and for the future of our state. Leadership.
I think your glasses are ready, Rich.
Last line. Leadership in public service requires the courage to challenge the status quo and the humility to remember who we serve, and I trust this board will continue to do both. I love you all. Thank you so much, and best wishes for a great future. Thank you.
I will have to say that Aaron is a brand, like LeBron or whomever, but you just have to say Aaron, and it's understood, which I love. I have all the time in the world for you, Aaron. So thanks again. Look forward to staying in touch, and all the best in the future endeavors and election. Unless there's any other comments, our last order of business in 2025. This is a really important line. Our last order of business in 2025 is to adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all, and I understand we have a nice reception hosted by the wonderful Dr. Toro.